Gladiator, ready. Hello and welcome to Attach Pass. My name is Ben. Today I am joined by the wonderful Reese.
Hello.
How you doing, Reese?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. Good. Reese is brand new to the podcast, is a very special guest, and basically Beth decided to not be... No, she's busy with life. She's got some practicing up for Leal coming up for Lorcana, which we both we had a conversation. She's like, yep, need to practice. And I'm like, absolutely. It's the same as if we were practicing for a regional or something like that. So it's like, yep, you go do that, and we'll make sure we put some replacements in your stead. I know we've been a week or two behind. There's been a lot of stuff going on personally again. Hopefully we should be good. We might even be moved out of this studio in the next 3 or 4 episodes as well, because we're making a studio at my house. So we'll be hopefully into a new set of scenery coming soon, which is probably going to be a bit more specialized. I want to turn half of this shed/studio that I'm making into a Pokemon center or a Pokemart. I think that'd be really cool.
But I have seen his garden, and a Pokemon Center is rather large, and his garden is not quite.
Okay, we'd set it as a corner. Maybe Bill's PC is in the corner or something like that. Wouldn't that be sick? But yes, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Reese in his entirety, how we got into the TCG and that sort of stuff. And then depending where we are with time, we might even delve into Charizard's Infernal Rain. Yeah. See what I did there? That's the name of the ability. Or we might delve into some other stuff. But we'll get to that point where when we get to it, we'll have a conversation with you first, figure out who you are, what you are, when you are, and how you interact with Pokemon. So I guess the first thing is, how long have you been playing Pokemon?
In person, since Scarlet and Violet Base released, it was my first time in here.
Yep.
But in terms of actually playing, it was around the lockdowns in COVID. So started playing online a few months after getting the card. So I work at Tesco, and we ended up with the Celebration set, and it didn't get put on the shelves because it's a high theft line. So
yeah, of course.
Eventually these boxes, all these special tins, were reduced to clear. So I picked up, between me and my girlfriend, a lot of tins on the cheap. So £5 for Celebrations boxes with the Sylveons, the Lancers, Charizard,
which now would be like money.
Yeah. And we opened up all these products, and we're going through these packs like, wow, I've not seen cards since I was a kid. I collected when base set was, and we was like, what are all these card codes for in the back of the packs?
Yeah.
Why do you always end up with all these energies? And we collected, and we tried to get all the set for the Celebrations. We got bits and bobs of Vivid Voltage, Evolving Skies that were in these boxes.
Yeah.
And eventually, her nephew was like, he got the Battle Academy, and he wanted people to play with, and his parents were getting bored of playing it. So he taught us how to play. So we come along, played with the Battle Academy, the young kids' little theme decks, and it was quite interesting. And then that gave us an idea of why you actually get all these energies, why you have all these trainers, Pokeballs,
how they all work.
So we just started from there and started making little decks out of all the bulk that we got from Celebrations, played with the Dark Sylveons, the Lancers, Charizards, and eventually we was like, oh, we'll redeem all these codes. So I sat there for hours typing each individual letter. We had like 100, 200 codes, and back then there was no scanning them.
Yeah, you had to manually do it.
So sat there for hours typing uppercase, lowercase, all that malarkey. No. And we got online, but that was the app before live, so you could only play with what you pulled. If you wanted a meta card, which back then we knew nothing of, you had to trade for it. And obviously good cards required high trade values, and you played with what you got until we picked up the Single Strike and Rapid Strike League Battle decks. That was our sort of entry into something that had a good competitiveness level against everyone else that you was playing online beyond the theme deck part of the previous app. And the girlfriend got Single Strike because in the video game she went with a Single Strike tower, and I had Rapid Strike, and we just started with that. What you got in it, started playing it. You'd see other decks that are similar, like I'd play online against someone Rapid Strike and they'd put in a Persimmon or something so that you could attack a bit more to the bench, and it was like, I'll put one of them in mine. What can I drop for it? There was no net decking back then for us. We didn't know anything of Limitless and regionals. It was like, oh, that seems like a good idea. I'll throw one of them into my deck.
Yeah, very much a different way to the way that other people that have come on the podcast have got into Pokemon. Sam had his friend teach him. Beth learned, I think, when she was a kid. You had a kid sort of get you into the gaming side of it, I guess. But you started off collecting, which is quite interesting. And then, you're moving into getting these league battle decks and things like that. And you say, there was no net decking, or there was no like knowledge of regionals or coverage or anything like that. That's a nice raw experience with Pokemon. I know it seems weird to say, but there's a lot of players out there that are like, yep, just jump on Limitless, choose a deck that's best performing, and off you go. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. There's no reason somebody shouldn't do that. But your experience is quite like what I was going to say fantasize, what I would appreciate of quite a raw and natural experience with Pokemon, where you start by going, this looks cool, let's buy this deck, and then you sort of adapted from there and started changing things, which is quite cool.
Yeah, because we really enjoyed, so throughout lockdown, obviously, you're stuck at home. I bought the Nintendo Switch and Sword and Shield. The girlfriend had been playing it for over a year. So there was like 200 plus Pokemon I'd never seen before, because I played Red and Blue as a kid, and a bit of Silver Gold. But beyond then, Pokemon left my life for a period of time, and I brought Sword and Shield, and there's like, wow, never seen that Pokemon before. Wow, is that? And the missus would be like, no, that one was in that region, and that one was. And I was like, I've missed so much.
Straight over the top of your head, yeah.
These are all new.
Yeah.
So yes, fully ground out playing Sword and Shield through lockdown. Go to work. I was at work anyway, so retail, looking after everyone with their food.
Boo.
And so we started playing online. I got really addicted to it, more so than the girlfriend who does play, comes to the locals with us.
She does very well as well.
But started with Rapid Strike, and then eventually Mew VMAX came along and started slaughtering fighting type.
Yeah, Mew VMAX.
And so I started to adopt Mew VMAX. You start trying to get those cards through trades online, and you learn how powerful Fusion Strike system is, and how much power having access to cards, having access to being able to heal yourself, hit for high numbers, just go quick. Until Lost Origin came about, and from the codes that I redeemed, I got a few Hisuian Gudras, and you start to look at YouTubers and what they've done with the Gudra deck, and you're like, right, Scoop Up Net, Convey, this is pretty cool. And I played Gudra for many months, playing the online back on the previous app where you could redeem your credits to play in tournaments on the actual app and do well even in Expanded with Gudra. Like,
gone are those days.
Expanded was another one we used to both love playing, because instead of playing the same old meta deck after meta deck, you can really challenge yourself in the Expanded, where you don't know what they're going to pull out of their deck in the next cards and
Could
stuff.
be anything. Yeah.
So personal favourite was Alolan, Executor and Rowlet Tag Team GX with the Venusaur line with the Jungle Totem, the Sceptile that had ability to block Ultra Beasts, and the Alolan Executor, as long as you got Bulbasaur on your bench, his attack, boom, Venusaur. Now your energies are doubled. You then have another turn of attachment, and you'll use its attack again, and boom, you've got a Sceptile on your bench, and from there, your energies are doubled, and Tropical Hour GX used to destroy so many people. All the energies they get on the board, boom, gone in an instant. And
just dead.
yeah. I'm now smacking you every turn, and you've got no energies.
No, it's for those of you that aren't aware, there are other formats out there that aren't just standard. I know a lot of your FLGSs, ourselves included, we run a lot of standard tournaments. Pretty much every tournament we run is standard. I think we tried to fire GLC once and it failed. Although I am like 2 cards off a deck now, and then I'm going to try start it again. I think part of a successful sort of scene for a format is if the TO judge is invested in that format. I think it passes down to people in that format as well. But yeah, there's as Reese had mentioned, Expanded there. It goes back till Black and White, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The cards there, you can absolutely use any of those cards in decks that you've got. Gym Leader Challenges I mentioned is another one where you go back to black and white, but you can't use any rule box Pokemon, and you can only use one of every card except basic energies, which is quite interesting. And you've got standard, and then you've got other things like sealed and draft and that sort of stuff. But there are other formats out there. They're all available on the Pokemon website. If you just Google Pokemon TCG game formats, you'll get a link that comes up straight away. Interesting. Have a look. You said you enjoyed playing Expanded.
Yeah.
Can't do that on the app anymore.
No.
On the new app. So you have to find people in person.
I think you can. I think they're starting to introduce it in the casual, but part of what made it enjoyable is the fact it wasn't casual. It was like still part of the ladder in a way.
Yeah.
Playing Expanded, but with how much trouble you have at times playing standard format on live, when you start introducing all these old different rule box abilities and stuff, you can only imagine that it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I think that app in itself has been designed poorly from the ground up, but they're too far down the road to go backwards, so maybe they're working on a replacement, maybe they're just trying to fix the one they've got, I don't know.
But the only problem we had with the previous app is I used to lose internet connection mid-tournaments, mid-game.
Yeah.
But you'd be able to launch back into it sometimes. You lose a turn. Maybe that makes you lose the game. But there is benefits to the new one compared to the old one. Things that I miss, like the fact that you can redeem any Pokemon, helps you if you want to test out a deck that you might bring to your locals. But it does mean that everybody and their dog has got a Charizard deck, if they want it, or whatever you can possibly imagine that is the power of the meta at that given time.
Yeah, they just go, right, here's all the packs that I've opened in person, here's all the dust that I need to create cards, here's the cards I want, right, thanks, I now have the best deck in format. So you obviously you got yourself playing on live quite a lot, or online quite a lot on the app. At what point did you decide to come in person? At what point did you sort of go, do you know what, we'll have a look around, we'll see what's here, we'll jump straight into going here?
So me and the missus watch Frosted Poke Caribou a lot, and I think she'd been talking about pre-release events or something that came up and was like, oh, we'll have a look for pre-release. That seems like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
We see the promo cards. I brought some of the build and battle kits just through personal purchases, and we was like, we'll try and find a pre-release somewhere nearby. So we went onto the Pokemon website, and the two local venues was Dice Cup in Nottingham and this one.
Yep.
And we moved to Kirkby, so this one was closer, and I think we inquired at both, and both had sold out because back then you didn't get quite as many kits.
No, we did not.
The one in Nottingham was like, you can turn up if someone drops out or hasn't, and we was like, you know what, we'll just see. So I think we just used your Facebook account and messaged about the local like league nights beyond the pre-release, and you said, oh yeah, just come down. So we came down on a Wednesday night. Neither of us brought a deck because we didn't know what we would expect.
Yeah, of course.
Of the venue, of parking situations and stuff. So we came down, and you got 6 or 7 people playing. First thing I saw was the Lugia being played. Back when Lugia was its most toxic, with amazing Raikus and Evatol, against some poor guy playing a theme deck. And I'm like, wow.
Yep.
He's got no chance there.
Brutal.
I'm glad I didn't bring some of my little decks, because back then I'd not even brought the UV Max deck in person. Yeah. So it was like, oh, I'm going to need something serious if I want to play and do all right here, having seen this guy getting slaughtered. Yeah. And we came down and we didn't have any decks, and he was like, oh, I'll get yours and Kitty's deck out. So you come out with Giratina Lost Zone and Zoroark
V-Star.
V-Star, not the box. And me and the missus sat down and played with them, and we were flipping through and like, Jesus, he's playing with alt arts, he's playing with gold cards. What is this guy doing? These are precious binder collection cards.
And then like riffle shuffling them.
Yeah. And we was like, wow. Let's steal them and go.
It's crazy how perception changes over time, right? Like, I guess it's the same with younger kids and people that are new to the game. When they've seen these alt arts, the SARs and stuff online, they're like, okay, they're pretty cool. And then when they sit down in person and look at them, they're like, oh my god, I'm actually holding one. Oh wait, there's 4 in this deck.
Yeah.
To some people, that's quite a like a shock to the system, because they're like, oh, why have you spent 15 quid on this one card? You know, this deck must be worth £300-400. And then you start getting into Pokemon and you start playing it and you start opening packs on the weeklies and you start pulling these expensive cards, and then you're like, actually it's not that unachievable to get a couple of nice cards in your deck.
Yeah, so prior to Silver Tempest, me and the missus had never brought a booster box of any collection. We'd always gone with promotion boxes, ETBs. And then we started to realise the value in buying booster boxes if you want to get those rarer pools, because you buy 6 or 7 loose packs on an online retailer, and the good chances are they've perhaps been weighed. You get them, and you get 6 or 7 hollow or less pools, and you're like, that feels really bad.
Yeah.
And then Scarlet and Violet base came out. We had a couple boxes of that, and since then we've been pretty much having most releases, bar Obsidian Flames, booster boxes for them.
Yeah. Well, you have a look at all the sets before they come out, like what's in them, looking at the Japanese versions of them and all that sort of stuff, and decide if you want boxes from that, right? Like a lot of people do that. They look at a set before it comes out and goes, do I want to buy a box? Do I not? I'm just the moron that goes, yep, I'll buy 2 cases or 3 cases of Pokemon, sure.
But I did pretty well at the Obsidian Flame pre-releases and got quite a few packs before the set was even released, including when I won one of the events, the SAR Zard. So it was like, wow, I've pulled the best card in the set just from a pre-release. It's cost me £25. I've had 7-8 packs with the one prize pack in, and
you've had your promo pack, like deck, one of these bad boys, and you've also had 3 games of structured Pokemon against people that are on a playing field that's very level. Yeah,
it's a refreshing format pre-release. Being able, obviously, there's some element of luck if you pull an EX or a V back in, I guess, in their pre-release, and it fits into your deck in some way or another, you're in a good place.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of sequencing. There's some decks in pre-release that are lesser than others, but there always is.
Yeah, I really like pre-release as a format. I think it's really, really strong. So you couldn't come to our Silver Tempest pre-release, was it?
No, the Scarlet and Violet base.
Scarlet and Violet base, but it was the Paldea Evolved. Did you come to that one?
Yeah.
And you've been to every one since then?
Pretty much, as long as I've not been
working.
Or going to the football.
That's the one where they kick that circle thing around the field, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good sport.
Yeah, they try and get it in the netted things on either side, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
You'll have to come to the football sometime. You'll love it.
Is that the one where they have those drama degrees?
Drama.
I'm sorry if you like football. It was a joke. It was jest. Complete jest. I swear. Anyway, so pre-releases, you came to the Weekly League. Did you come back the next week? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we pretty much came every week. Me certainly most weeks after that first one. So I brought a Mew VMAX League battle deck.
Yep.
First week I came, I had 2 Genesects, and I just had to play around the fact that I had 2 Genesects.
Not 4, yeah.
My first game was against the guy playing the Lugia the week before, and I forgot to set out my prize card, so I used my VIP pass, got my 2 Genesects, got all set up, went to take my prize, like, oh. He let me off. It was my first week.
Yeah.
But that could have changed the game. I could have prized both of them, and it'd be like, my Muse deck's not very good without them.
Do you remember who that was?
Seb.
Was it Seb?
Yeah.
You played against Seb. Right, okay. That's that. Yeah, okay, fair. That explains a lot. Seb's actually the guy who got Sam into Pokemon. So Sam, who's been on our podcast before, his friend Seb was the guy that was like, you should come down and try it. And he clearly inspired you to bring a decent deck and not get trounced every week, which is good. And now you perform incredibly well at our weekly league. I mean, I think I said the other day, you've been to 54 weeks worth of Pokemon League. That's not including pre-releases and stuff. That's kind of crazy, Reese. Over the past less than 12 months-ish, give or take. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think I've missed a couple of weeks through holiday, but
that's it.
And once or twice through illness, but yeah I'm pretty much here every week.
Do you think that Pokemon has generated you friends? I know that sounds like a really weird question to ask, right? But for me, certainly, a lot of the players that come, I've generated friendships that extend now beyond Pokemon. With this, okay, we share that commonality of Pokemon. But do you feel like you've generated? I say generated, like you've, I don't know, got a Game Shark in your Game Boy SP or something. Do you feel like you've gained friends from Pokemon that extend past that, or is it very much a case of your interests or your time with them would be spent playing Pokemon, and that's it.
No,
Both of those things are okay.
no, definitely. Like I've been, and I mean, when you play the game and preparing for regionals and stuff, like it's good to have those people that you now know. So Adam, when I went to play him in Chesterfield prior to Liverpool, like it's something I wouldn't have thought of doing had we not met each other at a league night.
Yeah.
Because he's not local to here.
Yeah.
You yourself moving in next door by chance to where we live.
Pretty much exactly next door. Yeah.
Like through COVID, obviously that was a tough time. Didn't get out of the house a lot. I met my partner at work, so we could see each other at work through the relaxed periods. We went on dates and stuff.
Yeah.
So up to that point, I wasn't getting out a lot. So I'd go to the football. I had a few friends from in the past and stuff, but you then lose friendship groups through that period of time. You change your interests. I used to go to a lot of modified car shows. I have a modified Polo, but then
it's basically a magic carpet. It's that low to the floor.
So yeah, like there's definitely people I would go. Yeah, I'm friends with them now. I'd go and do something beyond Pokemon here.
Yeah, of course.
Go for dinner or something, but it also helps having people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
If you didn't get on with people, or if we'd have come that first league night with our own decks and we didn't like the people, they were quite toxic or something, we might not have returned week in, week out, and we wouldn't have got into the hobby.
As deep as you are.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have spent anywhere near as much money on it.
Sorry.
We did, but yeah, I enjoy the game. I like focusing on it. It's some like... Yeah. You have a bad day at work, you come home, you can sit on live, start playing games. You either have a good night on there, the cards draw well, or you go lost, and you're like, God damn, I hate this game.
Never playing it again. Yeah. Start again tomorrow morning. I think one thing that I sort of, I guess, pride ourselves on here at Sanctuary is our community generally is pretty good. Like, the players that come here are pretty understanding. The TO's a bit of an idiot, but he tries to make sure that everybody is nice and kind and caring, and if they're not, he hopes people come and talk to them. I'm talking about me. I'm the TO. I hope people come and talk to me if they've got an issue, and when they do have an issue, then I can see if it needs resolving, and if it does, how we do that, and you know, there's a lot of spinning plates and stuff, but I do it all to try and make sure that everybody is comfortable and everybody's happy and everybody's ready to, you know, play the games and have some fun. And I think, you know, as you say, you probably wouldn't have come back if that sort of environment wasn't there. Okay, you came back in our early days when there was only like 8 players, and now we're getting like 16 to 20 nearly every week, pretty much. I mean, this last week we had 20, didn't we?
And some of them are faces that are new to our area,
yep.
And some of those that were playing when we first started coming haven't been in a few weeks. So, like, you could have even more if everyone that.
Yeah, I think I did the maths. If everybody that came to our normal weeklies came in, we'd have somewhere between 40 and 50 players, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
If everybody turned up every week, or if everybody turned up for 1 week, we'd have 40 to 50 players. Which is great, right? Because it means that these people that keep coming back, come back, and, you know, some people alternate, they come every other week, or some people come every week like yourself. Some people can only come once a month because of work commitments or whatever, but they make that effort to come that once a month because it's a nice sort of break and a nice separation from normal life where they come to play ultimately a children's card game with people.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun and we all like it. Cool. So that's your experience of sort of getting into Pokemon. I know you say you've played live a lot. You've sort of spent some money on getting some cards and playing some games. And you mentioned, and I know you came to Liverpool Regional with us. How did you find that experience? Because I assume you've not done anything like that before.
Oh, definitely not. No.
So yeah, run me through quickly how you felt everything went in terms of their organisation of the event. If it was daunting or not. When you sat down in that first game against your opponent, did everything sort of disappear? And it sounds cliche, but did everything disappear around you, and that was your focus point? Or yeah, talk to me about your experience, how you felt it all went.
So for Liverpool, like, I've not played a lot of long game round events. I've only played 3 League Cups. I've played a few challenges, so the idea of playing 9 rounds itself seemed quite daunting, which also influenced what deck I felt like I could perhaps play 9 hours effectively with turns, if possible, of Pokemon in a day.
Yep.
And I ended up settling on Miraidon.
Yep.
Perhaps not the best meta call for it, but in terms of playing 9 rounds, it felt like it would be a lot easier than 9 rounds of flower selecting, even if it meant you had more plays available. The idea of just going a bit faster, not having to make quite as many decisions in a first regional event might be a bit better for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down for the first round, a bit nervous against an Irish chap. You flip the cards and you no idea. So the difference between playing locally is you can get a little bit of a read about what you might be facing before when you see who you're playing. But when you go to a Elite Cup or to a regional, it's like you have no idea until you flip the card. So he flipped and it's a config. I'm like, oh great, I've got Iron Hands. Just let me power it up and I've got a good chance. And then the generators start not firing off, so you have and you start having to think about, do I commit to the Iron Hands or do I go with the quicker attacker Raikou?
Yeah.
And sometimes the generators are great. Sometimes when you have more energy in the deck, you feel like you've got to hit them. And then when you've got less energy in the deck and you feel like you're not going to hit them, they hit. So
when you've got 4 energy in a 30 card deck, and you hit 2, you're like, oh, okay, sure. And then when you've got, you've just literally first card of the game is generator, and you've got like 8 in there, 9 in there, you're like, whiff, what?
And you've thinned out all your guys with Miraidon as well, and then so I took a draw in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I took quite a few draws, and I was playing a quick deck, which goes to show the time that it takes for other decks in the meta to play out their turns.
Yeah.
So the time it takes for him to deliberate over every flower selecting. So we went to turns and couldn't decide a winner, so I took a draw there. I think I took 4 draws throughout the event, 3 wins, 2 losses.
Above average.
My loss was a mirror, and unfortunately I lost the first game. Game 2, I chose to go first, give me a bit more of a chance to set up.
Yeah.
And it was Zapdos, attach, pass.
He said the name of the podcast. This was back when Path was in play, right?
Yeah.
So it was like when you're in the mirror, you're both playing Path because you set up and then you Path.
Yeah, so she pathed me in the first game, which slowed us both down because she didn't have a great run of cards, but I had nothing. I had no ball search. I had supporters, but I couldn't play because I'd gone first. And she just flipped over Miraidon. She didn't even go for any of her extra guys off its ability. She just fired the generator, hit 2 attached to it, had the switching effect on her active, and was like, dead. That's round over. And that was my quickest round of the day.
Yeah. I mean, when you got 2 fast decks going against each other, you do tend to have pretty quick games. So, your games overall, were they okay? Like, did you face anybody that was from a different country that had language barrier or anything?
So I played 2 French guys, a Spanish guy, and
the Irish guy.
The only time I ever had any issue was the guy I played, Arceus. He was playing Arceus Regigigas V-Star.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a matchup I'd ever really played, and I wasn't sure what the Regigigas. So he explained it as like, when it attacks, it can't re-attack the next turn. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. But beyond that, no. Like, you recognise cards, you understand what a Radiant Greninja does.
Yep.
Most of them all speak pretty good English anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the only one was just not understanding the wording underneath in a French card.
Yeah. I only ask, right, because when you go from a locals, I mean, to be fair, we can't understand some of the people that come here. No, when you go to the locals, like, your dialects are literally all the same, right? You are local. And when you go to a regional for the first time, or even an international when you go to that stage, you get people from all walks of life and all different countries and stuff come and play in these events. And sometimes that can be kind of intimidating because you're like, oh, but what if they're trying to cheat me? Or what if they think I'm trying to cheat them? And all of a sudden you get into this position of sometimes, I'm not saying with everybody, and it hasn't happened with me, and I don't think it happened with you or most of the other people that went to the regional from here in Liverpool, but sometimes you can get into your own head about it, and you can be like, oh no, what is going to happen if, I don't know, say we need to judge call, and they've played it right, but I've understood it wrong, and then I look like an idiot or whatever. So that's the reason I asked, because it can be quite a daunting experience to not necessarily have 100% knowledge of what is going on.
There were, in the mirror that I lost, there was actually a sequence of card playing that I should have called for a judge for. I had Spiritomb on the bench, and she chose to attach and retreat into Raikou to fleet foot.
Yeah.
And she went to pull the card. I was like, oh, no, you can't. I've got Spiritomb. So she then proceeded to put Raikou back on the bench and go, oh, no, I'm not doing that then. And at that point, that was the only thing I perhaps should have done better, or was afraid of doing, is shouting for a judge at a regional level. Is like, my opponents chose to do these things and now they want to reverse it. Because obviously I lost that first game.
Yeah.
I lost that round. Perhaps it wouldn't have gone that way. She would have lost that turn of attachment through not looking at...
Well, not only that, Raikou would have been stuck in the active.
Yeah.
Like, you're not fleet-footing into nothing at that point. And there could have been a DPL. And I think some people might be like, well, that's rule sharking stuff. It's like, well, no, because you noticed what she was trying to do, and then you tried to stop her, and then she undid what was going on. At that point, yes, you should have called for a judge. And people will be like, well, but why? Nothing's happened. It's like, no, but she's committed the energies to somewhere else. She's then done another game action, and then goes to do a third game action, and then basically rewinds time to get back to where is a favourable position for her. And people are scared to call judges at regionals and stuff like that. And I think it's one of those things of, if it's easy to rectify and you don't think it's going to, like, if it doesn't massively change stuff, like, for example, say I Mirage Gate, and I'm looking through my deck, and I go, cool, I'm going to put one here and one here. And then I put my deck down, and I've not shuffled or anything yet, and I go, oh, actually, can I swap this over? For me, that's okay. Like, you've not taken any further game actions to influence your decision that you had previously.
Yeah.
When that happens, that's when you need to get a judge involved. And I don't think anybody should be scared of getting a tournament official involved. They're there to facilitate that and to make sure that people don't get an unfair advantage. So yeah, it happens. I've had things before where in Liverpool, actually, in my last round, I missed out on day 2 because my opponent did some skeptical things. Despite me having 2 judges sat either side of him, or one him and one stood over my shoulder because we were going to time. That was quite annoying for me. I should have pulled them up on it, and I tried to afterwards, and they just battered me off. But that's beside the point. So yeah, regional experience was good.
Yeah,
enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean, at the end of 9 rounds, I knew, or 5 or 6, I knew I wasn't going to be getting a day 2, but sat down for every round to see how. So now I know going into perhaps the next year, go to Liverpool, I might be able to challenge myself and play something more, perhaps mind strenuous throughout 9 rounds.
Yeah,
something else.
You've had another 12 months to experience decision making and things like that, and we'll have had another 12 months of releases to, maybe lock yourself into a deck that you're really, really comfortable on. Are you planning to go to more cups and challenges and potentially regionals next year? Is because my plan for next year is I'm going to attempt to get 500 CP. I'm going to try to go to Worlds. I will basically just sacrifice every weekend to go and play Pokemon. Kitty knows this; she's well aware. And if she doesn't, you do now. Is that a plan for you as well?
Yeah. So when they announced Hawaii, I'd love to go to Hawaii. It just felt like, for a first season, perhaps, of playing the game, it's a bit of an unobtainable challenge to go for, as well as just the logistics of getting to Hawaii itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd played, when they announced Hawaii, maybe 2 League Cups, a few challenges. I'd got some challenge wins. I've never top 8 at a cup, so it was like a bit too far away for this year. I'm already going to the football most Saturdays anyway, so going 2 cups predominantly are weekend based. This season, I've had another year of football. Next year I'm going to give it a break and look to go more challenges, more cups, perhaps renew the passport so I can perhaps go to a Stockholm or a Lyon.
Yeah.
Because beyond just trying to get CP, it'd be nice to see some other places for weekends away. Like, because I've been on holidays abroad, but never done like a city break or anything like that. So it'd be cool to go to Stockholm, even if it is 2 days in a venue, concert venue, something like that.
Yeah.
But seeing some sites that you wouldn't see
Yeah.
beyond that, you wouldn't think, oh, I'll just go to Stockholm, which is this weekend, right?
Stockholm is, yeah, so currently we're recording on Sunday. A week today we'll be on day 2 of Stockholm. And pre-releases for Twilight Masquerade start on Saturday, so that was a week yesterday. Now, if there is a tiny chance that I could go to Stockholm, there's still Masters tickets available, which blows my mind for Stockholm. But there is a tiny chance that somebody will be running for me on a Saturday, which means I could go to Stockholm and I could potentially compete. Very small chance, but I was looking at like Airbnbs and flights and stuff, and if I drive down to London and then get Kitty's parents to take me to the airport, the flights are only 106 quid. The transport to go from the airport to basically the Airbnb, which is next to the venue, was like £20, and the hotel is like 300 quid for 3 nights, Friday through Monday, and I'm like, that's like at most 500 quid to go for a weekend away in Stockholm. And that includes the ticket price for the event as well. And I get 2 days of Pokemon. I might just do that.
More likely 1 day of Pokemon, but you could dream.
Wow. There are side events on day 2, Reese.
Yeah.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, to be fair, I've not played anywhere near enough to get the reps into day 2 unless I'm playing something like Charizard. But yeah.
That's the downside of being the local Georgian TO. Yeah. You don't get to sit down with us all every Wednesday and slaughter us with God of War or whatever it is.
I'm not actually that good at the game. I'm okay at the game. I wouldn't say I'm bad at the game at all. I'm okay at it. That's why I like to be a judge. I like to facilitate that, but also I like to use my game knowledge to be able to further that. But it is, as you say, it's the downside. I can't judge and play because I've also got a cafe to run or tables to set up for other game systems and stuff. And from a personal point of view, it does get quite difficult. Like, this sounds really soppy, but emotionally it gets quite difficult because I want to sit down with you guys. I want to play. I want to, top deck the boss to win the game, or I want you to top deck the boss to win the game. And I want to experience the actual playing side of stuff. Unfortunately, just at this particular moment in time, I don't have any other days that I can go to a different locals to do that. So I have to passively live through you guys when it comes to gaming. I do a lot of work both at home in my real job and also here afterwards. So when I actually get home and have time to not do anything, I don't really want to be playing live. I want to be just like chilling out and watching a movie or just like zoning out because I've had a busy day.
Yeah, and also acknowledge your partner, your fiance.
Oh yeah, I forgot she exists. Yeah, no, I'm joking.
Because I have been told I spend too much time playing live at times, and I'm like, babe, I'm getting ready for a regional. She was like, yeah, but you're playing too much of it, and it's like finding the balance of because she enjoys the game, but she doesn't want to be like watching me just play the same old matchups online all day long.
Yeah,
you got to do some other things from time to time.
Yeah, and I think people say work-life balance is a thing. That's out the window. It's Pokemon life balance now, isn't it? Like it's that sure, work's aside thing that you slot in, but there's that picture that was going around ages ago with like somebody with bricks in a wall and the wall's completely full and they're able to like sleep, eat, shower, this sort of stuff, and they're holding a brick that says like Call of Duty or something on it, and they're just taking sleep out and putting Call of Duty in. It's like that with Pokemon and work and stuff, and it's trying to balance that. Like, if you want to be good at the game, it can be quite intense to be able to get the reps in and do all that sort of stuff. But from a real life position, you do need to balance where time with your partner fits in and stuff. And it's possibly why younger players manage to do a lot better than it feels like sort of older players do, because they don't have the same commitments to work and that sort of stuff.
So yeah, like when I first started playing on a Wednesday night, I was off sick I damaged both my knees quite badly, so I'd had a period of 3 months off sick, so I was having a lot of extra time to put in the reps online to all the different matchups at that particular time, so my gameplay was a lot more on point whenever I came on a Wednesday, whereas now I'm back working 5 days a week. I'm up at 6 a.m. Monday to Friday. When I get here in the evening, I've been up since 6, probably had 6-7 hours sleep, and it's like I'm starting to feel it comes round 2, sometimes round 3, depending on who you're playing, what the matchup is.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting in as many reps like with a deck prior to the night, knowing the matchup. So I brought Raging Bolt this week. I'd been playing Ancient Box all week, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it another go. And I won 2, drew 1. Drew with Zard. It's just such a tough matchup.
Yeah.
But I could play Zard. We have the deck. I've played it here once, and it's like, it just doesn't. I have to enjoy the deck, even if it is a bit harder to play or it's slightly less favoured. Like the week I brought Zard, I lost to Double Devo in Sable Zard in the old format with Path to the Peak, but it won a matchup that I thought, oh, it was Agi-Slash with the EXV attack blocker. I just went too quick for it to ever set up because I knew the matchup because it was something the girlfriend had been trying to make for
a while.
Yeah. So I knew exactly how it played. Other people it probably would have caught out, but I knew that's what it was going to become. But yeah, I've been playing. So I started with Rapid Strike. I've played some Arceus. I've played Miraidon for a good while. I've been trying the Ancients because in the video game I went with the Scarlet. Rachel went with Violet, and so she was Team Future, I'm Team Ancient. So we was excited for some, like, oh, it's going to be like the rebirth of Rapid Strike and Single Strike. And Future's had its sort of turbo hands. Ancient seems to have a bit of a stronger place in, well, the Ancient box are currently in the meta. But I've played Ancient box 3 weeks here, and it's not lost a round yet, but it just ties too many. You have a really good draw round 1.
Yeah, it draws everything.
And then round 2, you're stuck with a Sada in your hand with no way to discard an energy, so you can't play your supporter.
Yeah.
And you just lose the tempo, and then there's no time for game 3. So,
or you play 3 Pokegear and miss.
Yeah,
like that's also a thing that happens. Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like you're very well situated into having Pokemon in your life, which is great. And I think when I went to Lille and when I went to not EUIC because I did no testing for that because I'm a moron. When I went to Liverpool and stuff, we did a lot of testing together. I got you in to play games and things like that, and I'm pretty sure you're probably sick of playing against me at one point.
No, you were sick about playing. You was ready to throw the cards in, quit the game.
I was at one point,
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll not talk about that. Like
he was like, I'm not testing against Mew anymore.
It's only a game, guys. There's no need to be mad. Yeah. So you've put some reps in. You've had some. From, let's be honest, 16 months ago when you started. Was it 16 months ago when you started playing? Give or take. Rapid Strike,
probably.
Yeah, you've come quite a way, and you're excited, and hopefully next year we'll see more from you, and we'll maybe do some road trips down to Cups that are like an hour and a half away or something. Be like, come on, Reese, jump in the car. We're going to play at this Cup somewhere at random.
The Cups are definitely a lot harder. You get comfortable at your local scene. Adam's going to be playing this week probably, so you're probably picking up.
Yeah.
And whereas the free cups I've played, like, you don't know how good the player is that's sat across from you. You don't know what they're going to play.
Yeah.
And in a best of 3, you might have a favoured deck. You might win game 1, but they learn to adjust, which is what I've found from cups. And where you think you got a comfortable round win, you walk away with a draw and you don't get enough points to get to the cup.
You're like, where's that gone? Yeah, I did that in my regionals, actually. Any games that I drew in the regionals or UIC that I've been to are because that I've messed up game 1 and then I've learned rapidly and then played game 2 properly. And I just sort of sit there and go, this is what some people must experience being on the opposite side of the table, or what I experience sometimes. I now know that they experience it on the opposite side of the table as well. Because players do adapt, they do change. Not everybody's going to have that ability to have that one strategy like they do at locals and just go, I'll make a big lizard and hit with a big lizard, and that's all I've got. Sometimes they're like, actually, it might be beneficial to hit with a big bird at this point rather than the lizard.
And you definitely see that a lot more on stream at regionals when you've got the top caliber players playing. They'll see different lines of play to what you would think to play in a matchup.
Yeah. Some of them see the Matrix, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like you can almost see the energy attachments and turns and everything going on in their brains. It's kind of crazy.
And that's another side. Like when I first started playing here, I'd not really watched much in the way of a regional stream, and since then I've watched most of them. And you pick up things just by watching how other people would play, and then when you come to your local nights, you think, oh, I need to. You're going down to 2 prize cards. I've got all these cards in my hand. I need to burn these in case I might own out to 1 and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you've got better, higher chances of drawing into something that will win you the game.
Yeah.
And those are things that you just learn by watching the best of the best playing the game.
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people need to maybe think about really, because for example, Magic the Gathering, I learned to play Magic through watching YouTube videos. I learned to improve through watching YouTube videos. Pokemon's the same for me. I didn't learn to play through that. I taught myself using an academy kit, but live. But in terms of getting better and seeing things the way they should be played, and in this situation I do this, all the content creators and regionals and that sort of stuff are definitely key things to watch. The more hours you get in watching somebody play the game, the more potential outs that you can see, because their brain thinks differently to yours.
Yeah.
And your brain thinks differently to somebody else's. And if you get all of those ideas in a melting pot, sometimes it can be quite overwhelming, but sometimes you might just find that one gem that in this particular situation I can go through Tim's out and be able to win the game, or I can go through Jesse's out and be able to, and there's all that sort of stuff where the more you watch and the more you learn, the better you get.
Yes, they'll talk about you see the plays that your opponent could make to make you lose the game, so you have to do what you can to prevent them from having that out to that situation.
Yep.
And like the first cup I played Rapid Strike, and I picked up the Inteleon VMAXs just before Cyrus Davis won a regional with it, because I thought, we've got a lot of Lost Box players at locals, we've got a lot of Maridon players at locals. That deck seems like it should do well here.
Yeah.
So I went and purchased the free line to add to the Rapid Strike cards I already owned, and I brought it that week. And then at that weekend it won a regional, and it was like, so it is actually a good deck.
Yeah.
So I took it to my first League Cup, and I changed a couple of things that I personally felt I liked more in the deck than what Cyrus's was. I didn't make top 8, but it was my first League Cup. But there was a guy in top 8 playing Cyrus's list card for card, and I was like, so perhaps the 2 card changes I made weren't great, or perhaps that guy's just got a lot more reps into.
Yeah.
He's perhaps been playing the game longer, but yeah, the TO was kind enough to let me look at his deck list, see where mine varied to his, and it was just purely the same list that Cyrus had won with a week before.
Yeah. It's genuinely, there's no point reinventing the wheel. If you're wanting to, I think if you're wanting to compete and stuff like that, a lot of these players that do really well at regionals and stuff have testing groups, and then it's not just like Reese and his 6 mates that have never played Pokemon before. It's 6 to 8 of the top players in the game, right? That are all testing these decks against each other and coming up with a perfect 60 and all that sort of stuff. So why would you reinvent the wheel from what they've... I mean, put your own spin on it. I do all the time. I'm pot kettle here at the moment. But like when you're certainly looking to get into it and be competitive and stuff, just there's no shame in just taking a list and just running with it. I don't think anyway. I think you are silly if you don't do that.
Unless you don't understand the purpose of the... Like, you can look at a lot of lists in, like, Japan and stuff, and you think to yourself, so what is the purpose of that supporter in the deck? If you don't understand the lines of play, like, when Toad put Team Yelp's cheer into Zord, like, how many people would have thought, prior to Toad putting it in, that that's probably a good meta call if control's in abundance at a regional...
Being able to recycle bits, why would that work? And I think, understand, as you say, having an understanding of why cards are there, really good. I also think that there's nothing wrong with, if you are in the same rotation block, so say we are in, we're currently in Temporal Forces block, right, a section of the block now. If something towards the end of it is a deck list that you like to play, say you like to play Turbo Box, for example, but you aren't comfortable with some of the tech pieces they put in, there's no shame in going back further in that particular block and choosing a list that maybe favours what you've done that's also done well. Because it's still done well, it's just people have had time to change and adapt. You might be more comfortable playing without that third baton. Not that people should run 3 batons, only run 2. But the point stands. Like if you feel like you do better at a certain point, then stick with that. It's why I took Guardy to EUIC. Right, it completely changed, but the lines were basically the same, and I did not great, but also not awful with it, and I enjoyed my time with it, and it's why, you know, if I was to go to Stockholm this weekend, I'd probably pick up Guardy or Zard, because Zard is very just like, I could fall asleep and play this deck.
Well, before Obsidian had been released, you put so much time into trying to think of the perfect 60 or
For Zard.
Yeah, whether or not you wanted to run the Zard V and V Star in it.
Whether I was using Pidgeot or was using Bibarel,
Yeah.
like that was genuinely a big question that we had. We were testing it all the time. We tried to make Tyranitar work, not in Zard, but we were playing against it a lot. So we already were playing into stuff with big HP. I put hours and hours and hours into Zard and then took it to Leal. And then halfway through Leal, I had the sudden realization that I'm bored of this deck. Because I just played the deck that much. I was just bored. Like, I'm just like, there doesn't feel like there's any skill involved with me making a big... Like, there absolutely is. I'm not saying... And I don't think we're going to have time to go through... Sorry, I was just looking at the time. I don't think we're going to have time to go through the topic in as much detail as we would potentially go into. Because one of the potential topics for today, after talking about Reese, was Zard's domination on the meta. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to blanket everything I'm about to say with this disclaimer. Zard isn't easy to master. It's easy to play, easy to learn, hard to master.
Yeah.
Like, you have one main line of attacker, and that is make a dragon or lizard and hit with the lizard. That's fine. The mirror match is incredibly complicated. If you are going to win that mirror match, you need to know everything about every variant of the deck you are playing. And that isn't just, oh, I can play Zard, so I know how to play against it. That's not how it works. You have to play the deck so much more differently to be able to tackle or heat tackle your opponent into winning the games. That's another pun. I'm full of these today. But I'm so bored of playing it because my understanding and my level of play, I guess, made it feel very linear when I was playing it, which is why I just don't like playing it anymore.
And that's probably similar for me. I very much enjoyed Rapid Strike with Inteleon, and there was multiple lines of play. When's the right time to take a Yoga Loop? When's the right time to go in with the Inteleon and stuff like that? Whereas the week I brought Zard, it was very much of, I need to get some guys down first turn. I need to find an Arven for the second turn. Do I get Pidgeot first, then get Zard? Is that possible? And then beyond that, I mean, I did play into Control, and I had tech for it, because that's another thing, like your local group, you have to have an understanding of at a regional, you perhaps don't tech like you do for your locals, because you just got to be open for a wide, but when you know that of the 8, 10, 15 players that come, there's potential for 2 Snorlax blocks in the room.
Yeah.
That Minior perhaps is a better addition to it than having no out. So yeah, I played the Minior in it, and it won the Snorlax block matchup, which at that time Zard just didn't have any answers to. It was like, great.
Yeah. It's kind of actually scary to see how many answers Zard has. It feels like Lost Box does, in terms of it can just do everything. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they throw a Mawile into Zard at this point and be like, right, I'm just going to tempt and trap lock you, and I win the game through mill. Like, it shouldn't happen, and I don't think it will, but it wouldn't surprise me if something like that did happen. It's like we saw great success on stream yesterday. They're in Indianapolis, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where the guy was playing Hero's Cape. I'd wrote Hero's Cape, not wrote it off. I was like, yeah, I acknowledge 430 HP is kind of scary and terrifying. However, Prime Catcher's just goated. They've proven me wrong. I think they made day 2 with Hero's Cape, and it's like, okay, sure, it can just now have a big tanky beta instead of having to Prime Catcher the way around it. I don't know. It just feels like they can adapt to sort of do anything with Zard, mostly because all you've got to do is make that lizard, and then it accelerates to itself.
And we've spoke about it like privately, like being able to run 6 energies in a deck just opens up so many other cards that you can put in for other. Whereas if you want to play a Meowscarada deck,
you're in 9.
You've got to run enough energies that you're gonna draw into one rather than just go, well, I've made my Meowscarada, now the energy's come flowing with it.
Yeah.
No, you've got to either attach twice or get a double turbo. You need to bouquet magic into some damage so you can... Whereas it's just like extra steps that Zard doesn't need. It just quick search, gets it wherever it wants, and then it's like, and bang.
Anytime you think you might need more energy, so say there was one point where it was running 8, say you'd need those 8, you just replace them with a super rod, and now they serve double purpose. You can rod back the energy, or you can rod back the Pokemon. And like, you look at Turbo Hands, it's 13 energy. It's 7 cards that difference between the two, where Zard can just go, oh, I'm just going to put in a Cleffa, or a Team Yell's Cheer, or a Palpat, and all of a sudden it's like, the base of a Pokemon deck should be to have a certain amount of things that you require the deck to function. Charizard just needs statistically less things to function, and also the fact that it just accelerates to itself is stupid.
And one extra, so like, just in case it's not enough that you can power itself up in one go. Mm-hmm. Oh, I've also got the card that I need to retreat the guy that's in the way in the front.
Because Pidgeot has free retreat, or Cleffa has free retreat.
Or you just add that one to the Rotom to get it out of the way. Yeah. Like, it's just so disgusting.
If I think I'm going to be very careful about time here, because I know that we are like 5 minutes behind. That is fine. I'm just very aware that I could talk about this for hours. Yeah. We might as well just cover it whilst we're here. If Zard had 3 energy cost, or only ripped 2, it would be significantly more balanced, I think, personally.
Oh, definitely, because the fact that if you haven't got that Pidgeot or Cleffa in the active, always giving it a retreat cost to the little Charmander that's in the way, or the Pidgey.
Yep.
It's just like, it reminds me of Mew VMAX at its power when you was playing it double turbo energy, like playing 4 energies in a deck, you're drawing as many cards as you possibly can a turn.
Yeah.
You're Cramomaticing just to burn cards. You don't even know what it is you want most of the time.
You don't care. You might just fail it.
And the fact that, like, coming into the rotation when we lost Path and previous decks, Mew and stuff, I played a lot of Snorlax online, and the amount of Zards that you just farm through with it. But now it feels like they've probably worked out the matchup and they have the answers to it. It's
weird, isn't it? Yeah. Zard feels very much like Lost Box did to me, where, as I say, you can do anything you want with it. Lost Box is great. The engine is fantastic. I think it's really good. I think there's a lot of sacrifice in Lost Zone and stuff to be able to get access to things like really powerful cards like Mirage Gate or Miraidon Gate, because they printed one of those in Temporal Forces, a Mirage Gate on a Pokemon that costs 1 energy. That's mental. Anyway, so I felt that was very good, because you could adapt to everything, but then I started to realise more and more and more and more, where I started seeing, single prize Lost Box adding in a Mawile or adding in something else, just to be able to be like, oh, well, this deck that was built around this, I can take a snippet of that and put it in here. That's what I think we're going to end up seeing with Zard more and more, because it can potentially also get these obscure weird attackers in that you wouldn't expect, that are really great, but their limiting factor and balancing factor is they can't get the energy on them in time. Zard just turns around and goes, no, never mind, here's 3.
Yeah.
Enjoy that.
And you can still attach for turn as well, so that's 4 energies you could potentially get into play that turn.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Off a Candy plus... And actually, a lot of the time now, it's off a manual evolution to Charmeleon, right?
Yeah.
Or from Charmeleon. Yeah. It feels like, the big answer that was a Devo is now sidetracked by, we only ever actually need to rare candy the Pidgeot. We don't really need to rare candy the Zard anymore.
And it's also the thing that was probably the best counter to it is now the thing that they're running in their deck, same as when Mew was like, oh, its biggest answer was Path to the Peak.
Yeah.
And then Mew was like, you know what, I'll play Path to the Peak.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see that with Zard quite a lot. It's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary.
I think the Brazilian testing team popularised the double Devo.
Yeah.
And at EUIC, if it wasn't for time, William would have probably beat Tord with the second Devo.
Yep.
But prizes taken was the deciding factor. And if you had unlimited time, that matchup would have probably gone differently.
Yeah. Yeah, it's It's crazy. But we might see Zard dethroned with Dragapult.
And is that the case of the Creatures Inc. have now realised that they've perhaps printed him a bit too strong. We need to now start printing some counters to Zard, because if it's just everyone wanting to play that and it's ruling out all your future decks are now dropping off popularity because of 2 prizes with 230 HP just don't last very long.
Yeah, they don't. Not anymore. I mean, did you see that there was a leak that came out? I say a leak, a translation that came out. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a poison monkey, not giraffe, not. It begins with an O. It's a big monkey, and it's got 250 HP on a basic. That's mental, and it does like 300 damage if it's poisoned or something stupid. It's like, what, Pokemon? What are you doing? So yeah, I think, maybe they have sort of panicked and gone, Zard's too strong, quick, print stupid stuff.
Yeah, so like everything eventually, perhaps Zard was designed to be the Mew counter. We'll dark type it. Mew's been powerful for too long. This will now start slaughtering Mews, and Mew's just learned to work around it.
Yeah.
Judge to 4, take out Charmander after Charmander.
Path lock 'em.
Yeah.
Yep. And now we're in a position where Mew's rotated. Zard's now like, cool. That's now my chair.
I have taken the throne. I'm winning regional after regional.
Yeah.
I'm able to beat the bad matchups for type weakness, because even if you go down to through 2 Zards, the Radiant Zard is still hitting you now if you're a complete grass deck for weakness.
I mean, that genuine question, actually, before we sort of start looking to wrap up. Zard's obviously... Zard's the whole package. It's 2 energy. It's 330 HP. It's accelerating to itself and over-accelerating. It also has an attack that scales towards the late game and still hits for 180 to start with. Obviously, I already mentioned if they'd have made the energy cost higher or if they'd have made the ripping lower. What if they just fixed the damage on the attack to like 240 or 250?
Which would seem more logical because... I mean, your Dialga V-Stars, you have to attach more and more energy to it.
Yeah.
Your Chien-Paos, you have to attach more and more. Your Raging Bolt. But for something to scale up as the game goes along...
As your opponent gets further and further to a winning position... I mean, I like that concept, but you would have to incorporate that in the entire game to make it more balanced, I think. It's the only deck that I can sort of see at the moment in the meta, apart from maybe Control, where they require you to go ahead to be able to counter catch her up and lock stuff in place. But it's the only deck in the meta I can see where, say you were playing Zard, you are rewarded significantly more than I am by taking the prize cards. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, and like, the biggest thing I found is knowing when to hit a Pidgey and when to hit a Zard. Like, the game I won with Raging Bolt this week was where I managed to have I flipped a heads on a Pokemon catcher to KO the first Pidgey. I drew into a boss, and fortunately, but when you're playing Ancient, a lot of the time you want to run Sada for your turn supporter, and when you're doing that, you're not affected. So like having to hit through 2 Zards or 3 is a big deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's a stage 2. It requires decent HP. I don't have any qualms over the HP. I don't. No. I think the HP is fine. I think more the acceleration plus attack plus cost plus scale of damage is just crazy. And they kind of printed the deck on 1 card. And the Pidgeot's just a nice, have this.
They upgraded the Charmeleon for it as well.
Yeah, well, Paldean Fates came out there. Oh, by the way, this Charmeleon can't be affected by Devo. It's like, oh my god, why would you do this, Pokemon?
So even the basics are pretty good. The fact that a Charmander eventually will knock itself out against block, which is usually the way that they start to learn to play it, is, well, I won't activate your counter catchers, I'll KO a Charmander, so now I'm hitting myself. Because I KO'd myself, I'm hitting for 210, and that goes around your Bravery Charm. So, yeah.
Why does it have everything, Reese?
Although
Dragapult does kind of poop on the Heat Tackle Charmanders, right? Like you 200 damage the active Zard, and you sprinkle 60 onto a Charmander or another Zard ready to Devo it, and then you do the same to knock out the active Zard and sprinkle onto the Pidgeot, and now you can devo for 2 prizes because you'll knock them both out eventually. I guess that's maybe the counter that they've printed to it.
It could be. I mean,
Ish.
Iron Leaves doesn't feel great because it reminds me of Drapion. Oh, you're running a Drapion, are you? That's free 2 prize for me. Yeah, take your 3 prizes. But now I'm just a power tablet away from an easy 2 prizes rather than your Arceus V-Star that requires me to have 2 or 3 damage buffs.
Whereas Leaves it knocks you out, sure, but it gets knocked out on the return, right?
Yeah, pretty much always, like, even if it's their first 2 prizes, it just dies in return, or it can't attack again anyway, so you've got to retreat it.
And it's not good enough as an attacker in other decks to make it, like other matchups, like it hits for 180 flat. Why can't that be Zard?
Yeah.
Why can't that have scaling? Although, maybe if it was the same as Zard, instead of accelerating from the deck, it did the same thing it does, switching to active and accelerate from bench. That might be more balanced, because you have to find other ways to commit energy to the board.
Palafin EX is another one that could, if you can work out
That's very weird, but yes.
how to get your guys in and out of the active spot at the right times. It's another high HP guy that can't ever be one-shotted by a Zard unless you're in the lead with a Defiance band or a Vitality band if you've taken 5 prizes.
I was going to say, what is it, 340 HP? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
0 to hero.
Literally. And it's also got that ability that lets you evolve the basic, the Finizen into a Palafin, and then you can change that Palafin with a Palafin EX from your deck or something if it's switched into the active. Very, very weird, but cool.
Yeah, Dragapult is something I'm excited about. And the Dracloaks having a usable ability is...
Airmail.
Yeah.
It's not called Airmail, but it is just Airmail for those of you that used to play. Pidgeotto used to have an ability that was the exact same word for word, and it was just called Airmail.
Yeah, so that side of it and having no weakness reminds me of playing Goodra, but with a little bit more damage potentials.
Yeah.
Just got to work out the energy acceleration or which way to... Because from what I've seen in Japan, Zard is teaming up with Dragapult.
Yeah.
Or it's Dragapult and Pidgey, or it's Dragapult and the little psychic guys. Oh, what
Xatu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Xatu to accelerate onto it, then you attach a fire for
Yeah.
turn. You draw in 2 cards with it. It's very, very good.
But I do believe the first winner in their format in Japan is Miraidon.
Really?
This weekend. I do believe that's what I saw on stream.
Wow.
Is Miraidon took down the event in Japan's Champions League today. I might be wrong.
Interesting. Well, I guess I'll go and have a look at Limitless later. And that is pretty much all we've got time for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me, Reese.
It's all right.
Hopefully it wasn't too intimidating. I guess when you come and sit in the podcast room for the first time with all the lights and the screens and the cameras on it, can be kind of intimidating, but hopefully you didn't find it too bad.
No.
Can we have you back at some point?
Yeah, you can have me back.
Yeah, there we go. We've got another one to chain up in the basement.
As long as I don't get hate in the comment section or anything like that.
Nobody will hate you, Reese. You're too lovely.
Because I'll just bring Zard and destroy all.
That's why we hate Reese. No, I'm joking. All right. Well, thank you so very much for joining me today. Thank you very much to everybody listening, watching, whatever you are doing. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can watch us on YouTube and see my lovely face and Reese's lovely face. My face isn't lovely. But yeah, you can witness my editing bad skills. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I've been Ben. This has been Reese. We've been Attached Pass. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Maybe. Possibly see you next week. I don't know.
I might never turn up again.
No!